Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 271, What About Your Mega Evolution? On the shattered ground. Lance's expression was dark and cold as he stared at the slightly chubby middle-aged man in a black coat and gentleman's hat standing across from him. In front of Lance stood his ace Dragonite, now covered in wounds, evidence that the earlier battle had not gone in his favor. In fact, he was being overwhelmed. Ha. So this is all the mighty Lance is capable of? Giovanni chuckled in a deep, taunting tone. Lance's face twitched and contorted, the corners of his mouth twitching into a grin before falling again, looking eerie and sinister. So that's it, getting a slight upper hand and you think you're untouchable now? You filthy rocket rat. His expression grew more and more twisted, the gaze under his blood-red hair enough to strike fear into anyone's heart. Yes, this Pokemon called Mutwo was far stronger than he had expected. Even his ace Dragonite was being suppressed. And that was something Lance simply could not accept. You think you've already won? Don't get ahead of yourself. Lance took out 2 more Pokeballs and opened them. 2 Dragonair emerged above him. These were some of his oldest partners. While a single Dragonair couldn't compare to his frontline aces in terms of power, the combined assault of 2 Dragonair could rival even his Dragonite. Dragonair. Dragon Pulse. Dragonite, Extreme Speed. The 2 Dragonair intertwined and soared vertically, charging up blue Dragon-type energy in their mouths. The 2 Dragon Pulses converged into a massive dragon-shaped blast aimed straight at Mutwo. At the same time, Dragonite flashed with white light and shot toward Giovanni at high speed. Mutwo's eyes gleamed with a deep blue light. It raised its arm, conjuring a vast psychic barrier in shimmering blue. Boom! The Dragon Pulse struck hard against the psychic shield, erupting in a massive blast as smoke billowed. But Dragonite's extreme speed was aimed directly at Giovanni himself. This wasn't an official battle. To Lance, as long as he could take out the rocket leader, any method was justified. But... bang! A Beedrill appeared, its stinger clashing directly with the incoming Dragonite. The force of extreme speed collided against Beedrill's dual stingers, unleashing a burst of energy. Kanto champion Lance, you're so desperate now that you know you can't win head-on? Ha! Giovanni casually raised his right hand, where a keystone shimmered brightly, as he mocked the expressionless Lance. I told you before, your dragons are nothing special. Brilliant light enveloped the Beedrill as it mega-evolved. In a flash, a Mega Beedrill with 4 stingers appeared before Giovanni, its legs now giant venomous spikes. Lance's eyes darkened as he stared at the now even more intimidating Mega Beedrill. Mega Evolution, evolution beyond evolution. So Lance, why hasn't your Dragonite mega-evolved? It sounded like a question, but the smirk on Giovanni's face made it clear he was mocking him. Lance's face turned even colder. As time passed, Mega Evolution had begun spreading across other regions. As the Kanto champion, Lance had started searching for a Dragonite Megastone the moment he heard about it. But to this day, there had been no leads, none at all. It was as if a Dragonite Megastone didn't even exist. Shut your mouth, rat. Lance's lips curled back in a menacing grin, his white teeth gleaming. Even without a Megastone, you're going to lose today. Lance enlarged a heavy ball with a flick of his finger and released it in front of him with a flash of light. A massive Pokemon landed heavily, and even Giovanni raised an eyebrow in surprise when he saw it. That orange-yellow dragon body was unmistakable, it was a Dragonite. But the difference lay in its sheer size. A normal Dragonite was just over 2 meters tall. This one, by visual estimate alone, was over 10 meters. That couldn't be explained by good development alone. This was the giant Dragonite Lance had caught in the waters near Cerulean City. Interesting. Giovanni squinted slightly. He hadn't expected Lance to still be hiding such a powerful trump card. Dragonite's strength was already formidable. If this giant Dragonite wasn't just for show, its power might even surpass Lance's usual ace. Though its massive size likely meant less agility than a standard Dragonite, the sheer mass and power it brought more than made up for it. Dragonite! Crush him! Lance's red hair flared as his cold, sharp voice rang out. No matter what, it was time to finish this rocket leader once and for all. Temporary League Command Center, Kanto Region. Elite 4 Agatha, the rocket forces in the Western Zone have basically been wiped out. Good. Send the captured rocket members away for detainment, and pull some forces to support other areas. Agatha nodded, her gaze fixed on the map. She wasn't too concerned about the regular rocket grunts. There still aren't enough people? Agatha frowned slightly, her cloudy eyes filled with thought. She hadn't expected this. Rocket's top-tier power only included 4 people. Lance had gone to face their leader early on, but so far, things weren't looking good. The battle was fierce. Reports from League observers said that Lorelei was already being suppressed by Zinnia, and if things kept going that way, she'd likely lose. That had truly surprised Agatha, so she had already sent Bruno to assist Lorelei. Meanwhile, over with Eisen, Cynthia and Gita had asked for backup. That was Agatha's biggest concern, the opponent there was far too strong. As for Zinnia, even Steven and Wallace together were struggling to gain an advantage, something Agatha couldn't have predicted. Both Steven and Wallace had served as Hoenn champions, and yet neither could deal with a top trainer from their own region? All 4 major battlefronts were giving nothing but bad news. Rin, where's Dylan? Agatha asked her subordinate. Why hadn't Dylan made any moves? We're already in contact, he's responded, said Officer Jenny Rin, the overall commander. Dylan, go assist Cynthia and Gita on the 39th floor. Their situation is critical. Agatha spoke through the communicator. Okay. Dylan's response came through. Agatha frowned as she stared at the regional map. This wasn't what she had envisioned at all. I never thought that at my age, I'd have to return to the battlefield, Agatha said as she rose with the help of her cane. In this situation, she couldn't just sit idly by. Rin, I'll leave command to you. Yes, ma'am. Officer Jenny Rin responded firmly. I'll assist Lance first. If we can take out the rocket boss, As Agatha began walking in her intended direction, she caught sight of 2 teenage boys nearby out of the corner of her eye. It was red and blue. Those 2 are from Pallet Town, right? I heard the chairman say they were recommended by Professor Oak. 2 youngsters from Pallet Town. Agatha's eyes flickered as she looked at the proud-faced Blue. Are you going to let us in or not? If not, just say so. I don't have time to waste here, Blue said impatiently. If Professor Oak hadn't sent him here, Blue wouldn't have even bothered. In his eyes, Team Rocket had nothing to do with him. As someone who preferred to do things his own way, Blue figured the League would take care of them eventually. Red tugged his cap down silently. Sorry, we've already submitted the request. Team Rocket is extremely dangerous, we're only thinking of your safety, the officer said apologetically. Ugh. Blue sighed, stuffing one hand in his pocket in annoyance. Since Old Man Oak recommended you, just let them in, came a low, raspy laugh as Agatha walked over. Elite 4 Agatha? Blue raised an eyebrow, instantly recognizing the eerie old woman. After all, his goal was to become the Kanto champion, so he had done his homework on all the Elite 4. No manners, huh? I knew your grandfather back when we were young. You should call me Granny. Agatha chuckled. Blue felt her gaze on him was kind of weird, but technically, she wasn't wrong. Red. Since you were recommended by Professor Oak, you must be capable. I'll have you know both of us are champion-level trainers. Blue declared proudly, smirking. And rightfully so, he had only started his journey earlier this year, and already reached champion level. In fact, Blue considered himself far beyond an average champion. Oh. Agatha smiled in satisfaction. Very well. Red, you come with me. Blue, head to the 39th floor of Sylph Company to assist champion Cynthia and Gita. Agatha's tone was pleasant despite her usual eerie demeanor. Be careful. The opponent on the 39th floor is very strong. Had just rocket trash, Blue scoffed. He was a champion-level trainer, recognized by Dylan himself. Team Rocket? Please. He could crush them with one hand. Let's go. 39th floor, Sylph Company. Very nice, very nice. You two really have a gift, and you're absolutely stunning. Eisen looked at the photos on his camera in satisfaction. Cynthia sat sideways on a desk in a black peony cheongsam, her long hair elegantly styled. Gita, also in black, her tall figure graceful, was lifting Cynthia's chin and leaning in. The distance between them? About 0.01 centimeters. The atmosphere was thick with teasing ambiguity. The scent of lilies, the aura of art at least 10 floors high. If Cynthia and Gita's fans saw this, they'd probably faint from excitement. It was too beautiful. And that wasn't even the only one. Eisen had taken several shots, even having Gita change into a male outfit and wallpen Cynthia for another set of photos. Absolutely nailed it. Cynthia and Gita stood there in their cheongsams, completely expressionless. They now understood just how twisted Eisen's personality truly was. When he first mentioned the Yuri-themed photoshoot, they had both refused. Both Cynthia and Gita were refined individuals, and they were both straight. But Eisen had threatened them, saying he'd harm their Garchomp and Glimmeray if they didn't comply. For the safety of their Pokémon, Cynthia and Gita had no choice but to yield to his perversion. Looks, figure, elegance, you both have it all. The entertainment industry really missed out on not having you. Eisen gave them a thumbs up in sincere regret. Give us back Garchomp and the others. Cynthia took a deep breath, forcing down her roiling emotions. She'd always seen herself as composed and rational. From childhood to now, she rarely lost control of her emotions outside of battle. But today, she broke her own rule. Eisen, we had a deal. Some of those photos, you can't release them. Gita sighed in frustration. She couldn't believe that coming to Kanto almost cost her dignity. She was the top champion of Paldea and president of the Paldea League. Mature, steady, kind, reliable, those were what people thought of when they saw Gita. And now, she'd been roped into a Yuri photoshoot with another woman. While none of the pictures had crossed any extreme lines, some of them were still quite borderline with that teasing, romantic tone. Don't worry, ladies. I may not be a good man, but I still have artistic integrity. Eisen smiled casually. Then he stepped aside, and Koraidon released the severely injured Garchomp and Glimmeray. Cynthia and Gita immediately recalled them. Just then, the floor-to-ceiling window suddenly shattered as a Pidgeot flew in. Eisen looked surprised, as did Cynthia and Gita. So, you're the rocket guy? A cocky, spiky-haired teenager jumped down from Pidgeot and looked lazily at Eisen. It was Blue. That's right. And you are? Eisen raised a brow. I'm Blue, and ugh, this is such a pain. Let's get this over with so I can go find Red. Blue glanced at Cynthia and Gita in their cheongsams, his eyes flashing with surprise and curiosity. Beautiful women, no doubt. But alas, Blue had no interest in women. His heart was set only on Dylan and Red, his two greatest rivals. On the road to becoming the strongest trainer, there was no room for distractions like women. What he did find strange was that, if that creepy old lady Agatha was right, these two were the champions of Sinnoh and Paldea? Dress like that to fight Rocket? Weird. Whatever, not his business. Come on, I'll give you a fair chance to battle me. Blue's thoughts flicked by, but he quickly raised his chin with pride and challenged Eisen. Ha! Just some Rocket trash. What, was he supposed to lose? Not a chance. He had this in the bag. Cynthia and Gita looked at each other, both with strange expressions, about to say something to warn their overly arrogant junior. He's so full of fire, this kid. I've decided. Aizen adjusted his glasses with a warm smile. Blue really was a cocky one. But that's fine. Time to beat some sense into him. After I'm done, I'm going to hang you from the ceiling and take some artistic photos. Let's go with school swimsuits. And afterward, he'd find a way to send them to Red. Chapter 272, Blue, you dare treat me like this? You want to hang me from a chandelier? Ha! Great idea, I'll hang you from a streetlight instead. Blue laughed out loud. Nice threat, but could this guy really back it up? Blue, right? Aizen's strength is no joke. Cynthia and Gita, as responsible seniors, gave Blue a serious warning. They understood perfectly well that young people had pride, if not now, then when? But showing off in front of Aizen? That was dangerous. Ha! He's strong? And I'm not? Blue sneered. Blastoise. Even while talking tough, Blue didn't hesitate, he sent out his ace Pokemon, Blastoise. He then raised his right arm, the keystone on his bracelet glowed brilliantly. Blastoise. Mega Evolve. Blastoise growled as evolution light enveloped its body. Mega Evolution. Cynthia and Gita were surprised. Mega Evolution was still new to most people, and this power-up that let Pokemon evolve further had captured their interest. They were both already searching for compatible Mega Stones, but hadn't had any luck yet. They didn't expect this young trainer to already have one for his partner. Soon, Mega Blastoise stood proudly, its shell now armed with a massive central cannon and two smaller ones on each arm. Its aura was fierce, and the sharp, aggressive intent unique to Blue's Blastoise was downright chilling. Seeing that, Cynthia's eyes flashed. These young trainers might be cocky, but their strength was undeniable. Unbelievable, considering how young he looked. This was a gift from my closest friend, a Megastone given to me by Dylan himself. He's known as the Rocket Executive Slayer. Blue grinned. Back when Dylan had given him a choice between Blastoise's and Tyranidar's Megastones, he picked the one for his starter. Blastoise had always held a special place in his heart. And sure enough, Mega Blastoise's power was incredible. So much so, Blue even felt he could take on Lance. A Mega Blastoise, huh? Not bad, Aizen nodded approvingly. Come now, cocky kid, let's see what you've got. Don't disappoint me. Hands in his pockets, Aizen smiled casually, standing tall and poised. God, what a poser. Blue scowled. He hated people who acted cool in front of him. He especially hated those who could do it better than him. Blastoise. Hydro Cannon. Blue shouted without hesitation. Seeing him go on the offensive, Cynthia and Gita also pulled out Pokeballs. Though they'd lost two of their core fighters, they still had others. And to deal with Aizen, they'd have to team up. Mega Blastoise lowered its head slightly. Its arm and back cannons glowed blue with water-type energy. Hydro Cannon. Two small streams and one massive beam of water rocketed toward Koraidon. That's it? Aizen chuckled softly. Koraidon. Koraidon's massive claw gleamed with sharp blue light as it raised one arm and slashed diagonally downward. Dragon Claw. A streak of glowing greenish-blue energy cut through the air, shattering all three hydro cannons into a spray of mist. The brutal guardian dragon stepped forward, its violent aura washing over them. Blue's face paled. No way. He was stunned. That was Mega Blastoise's Hydro Cannon. How could this unfamiliar Pokemon just tank it? That's Koraidon, it's a legendary Pokemon. Its strength is on a whole different level. Gita said, her tone serious. If she recalled correctly, Koraidon had been summoned by Professor Sada and Turo using a time machine. Very few people knew about this, but she was one of them. But how did Aizen end up with it? Could this be the one that escaped back then? She would definitely ask the professors once she returned to Paldea. I see. Blue furrowed his brow. A legendary Pokemon, it made sense now. No wonder it was this strong. Still, just because it was legendary didn't mean it couldn't be beaten. Auroras.
Lucario. Geeta and Cynthia released their other core Pokemon. Tyranitar. Blue tossed out his second Pokeball, and Tyranitar landed with a roar.
4 powerful Pokemon now faced off against Koraidon.
Interesting, a 3-on-1?
Aizen smiled, spinning his Pokeball between his fingers. Don't say it's unfair, you're way too strong, Geeta said gravely.
Not at all.
I respect your teamwork. Aizen remained composed and refined, adjusting his glasses. But the result will be the same.
You arrogant jerk. Blue couldn't take it anymore. He hated people who acted cooler than him, especially when they actually were. Let me show you what I'm really made of. Very well. I'll take you all on. Aizen smiled faintly. Then. You've gotta be kidding me. How is he this strong? Blue stumbled back 2 steps, staring at his fallen Tyranitar and Blastoise in shock. Koraidon had 1 foot on Tyranitar's chest, and both Aurorus and Lucario were down. Not a single one could fight back. JPG. Koraidon stood proudly, its gaze looking down on all 3 trainers.
Except for Big Bro, Second Bro, Third Bro, Fourth Bro, and the new 5th Bro, everyone else was just trash.
Looks like none of you could defeat my Koraidon.
Aizen chuckled, turning his gaze to Blue.
Blue immediately shivered. Something about that look made him uneasy. Cynthia and Geeta said nothing.
Blue instinctively reached for his Pokeballs, trying to recall his fallen partners. But the red beam of light was intercepted. Koraidon's tail lashed out, knocking it away.
What the hell? What's your problem? Blue glared furiously at Aizen.
This guy was deliberately stopping him from recalling his Pokemon. Losers need to accept their place.
Think of this as a lesson.
Aizen's gentle smile curved as he adjusted his glasses.
Since you lost, I don't think it's unreasonable to make a little request, is it? Blue's face changed instantly.
He remembered what Aizen had said earlier.
No way, was he serious? Here, put this on.
Aizen said softly, tossing a small bag toward him. Blue caught it, opened it, and his face turned green.
No way. You bastard. How dare you humiliate me like this? He clenched his teeth. Inside the bag were a wig and a school swimsuit. He was Blue Oak, a proud man, the future champion of Kanto and maybe even the world. How could he wear something like this? He didn't even have that kind of hobby. You bastard. Do you know who my brother is? You'd better not go too far. Blue's voice rose. Did this guy not know who Dylan was? How dare he treat him this way? Oh. But I've got Tyranitar and Blastoise in my hands right now.
Aizen chuckled, gesturing to the 2 Pokemon that had been conquered by Koraidon.
You? Blue's face turned dark. What a shameless guy. He looked helplessly toward Cynthia and Geeta. Cynthia. Look at what we're wearing.
Geeta sighed, gesturing at her own Cheongsam, indicating they couldn't help.
That's when Blue realized these 2 champions weren't dressed like this because they enjoyed it. They were victims of this madman before he got there. Blue's expression froze. He was done. 25th floor.
With a thunderous boom, a shadowy figure darted toward Lorelai's dugong, slashing it with purple-black claws.
It was Karen's Weevil.
Dugong cried out and retaliated with an ice beam, but Weevil dodged with a graceful leap, grinning wickedly.
My Lorelai, looks like you're not as tough as your reputation says.
If you say sorry now, I might let you leave, Karen said sweetly, resting her chin on her hand.
Oof.
Lorelai pushed up her glasses and coldly returned Dugong, sending out a jinx instead.
You really are disgusting.
All your words reek like the sewers you crawled out of.
Karen's smile froze. But before she could reply, a spring-loaded kick shot toward Weevil like lightning. Normal type, mega kick.
Weevil narrowly dodged, the wind from the strike sharp as a blade.
If that had landed, it would have gone flying.
Karen narrowed her eyes. The kick retracted, and a brown Pokemon leapt from the stairwell. Hitmonlee, the kicking fiend.
A Hitmonlee? Then that means. Karen immediately recognized it. A moment later, heavy footsteps echoed. Bruno entered the scene. Of course it's Bruno. Ugh, what a pain. Karen clicked her tongue. This was bad. Bruno, the third Elite Four of Kanto, a master of fighting types. He was even stronger than Lorelei. She hadn't expected Lorelei, ranked 4th, to already be champion level. But Bruno was ranked above her, and fighting types countered Karen's dark type team. This isn't fair, Lorelei. Can't win, so you call backup? Karen readied another pokeball. Even she couldn't handle both of them at once. She was already thinking about how to retreat. If it were just Bruno, she might manage. Despite the type disadvantage, she had her tricks. But 2-on-1? Too hard. She wasn't going to jail just to prove a point. Do we need to play fair with Rocket Trash? Lorelei said icily. Nice to see you're proud of ganging up on me, Karen scoffed. Time to get serious. If it got too rough, she'd bail. No shame in that. She wasn't letting herself end up like Sasuke. Back near Sylph Company, the surrounding streets were a wreck. Giovanni was currently fighting alone against 3 people. Lance, Agatha, and Red had surrounded him. Even Giovanni was feeling the pressure. Lance and Red's Pokemon attacked head-on, and while Giovanni's Mutwo and Mega Beedrill were powerful, it wasn't easy. Especially with Agatha lurking in the shadows behind. To avoid being sneak attacked, Giovanni had to keep Mega Beedrill close at all times. Just then, a pair of crimson eyes lit up in Giovanni's shadow. A ghostly claw reached out. Agatha's Jengar. But Mega Beedrill reacted instantly, its stinger striking Jengar in a flash of darkness. Jengar retreated, melting back into the shadows. Giovanni glanced toward Agatha, who leaned calmly on her cane. Lady Agatha, sneaking around like this, not very dignified, is it? I'm too old for direct combat, dear. I leave that to you youngsters. Agatha chuckled, totally unbothered. Shameless old hag. Giovanni looked upward. Mutwo was now locked in battle against Giant Dragonite, Lance's Ace Dragonite, 2 Dragonair, and Red's Charizard X. Mutwo was fighting 5-on-1. Even Mutwo was beginning to feel the pressure. Lance and Red's Pokemon weren't weak by any means. And Giovanni couldn't help. If he got distracted, Jengar might reappear behind him. Just then, Koraidon crashed down from the sky, kicking up a cloud of dust. Well, Barrigan, things aren't looking so good for you. A magnetic voice rang out as a white-clad, elegant man stepped forward. Aizen. Giovanni had been using the alias Barrigan. Aizen, you're here. Giovanni relaxed slightly. With Aizen, things would get easier. All 3 enemies turned their gazes to the newcomer. Aizen? Lady Agatha of the Kanto Elite Four? A pleasure to finally meet you, Aizen said, turning to her. What about Cynthia, Gita, and that blue kid? Agatha frowned. Oh, them? I already beat them. Gave them a little punishment for losing, too. Aizen smiled and turned his gaze to Red. Yep, he already had those artistic photos of Blue. Once this was over, he'd send them straight to Red, so he could fully appreciate his childhood friend's hidden charm. And maybe, he'd send a copy to Professor Oak too. Wonder if the good professor would faint after seeing his grandson in such an elegant pose? Chapter 273, Dylan, you gotta avenge me. Sylph Company, 39th floor. Miss Cynthia, Miss Gita. Dylan finally arrived, a little late. His gaze froze when he saw Cynthia and Gita, especially the elegant kipeos they were wearing. Damn! These two had such long legs. Lily bit her lip, eyes gleaming with envy. The tall, graceful figures of these 2 champions made her feel very self-conscious. Dylan! A pitiful voice rang out, and a familiar figure rushed up to Dylan. Blue? What happened to you? Dylan was startled, staring at Blue's pale, furious face. That guy. That man's a monster. Blue grit his teeth, fists trembling. Dylan, we're bros, right?
Of course.
Dylan raised an eyebrow, confused by Blue's emotional state. Then please. You have to avenge me.
That guy humiliated me, he ruined my name, my dignity.
Blue's grief overflowed, he'd been blackmailed into taking more than a few embarrassing photos. What exactly happened? Dylan grew increasingly curious. He remembered Blue arrogant, proud, full of swagger. How did he end up like this?
Dylan glanced toward Cynthia and Gita only to find both champions had quietly looked away, wearing blank, stoic expressions. Well, they didn't know exactly what had happened, but after all those loud cries from inside the private room, they could guess Blue had probably gone through the worst experience of his life.
Dylan, please. Beat Eisen for me.
This is my life's one request.
Blue bowed deeply before Dylan.
Just like when he first challenged Dylan's gym long ago.
Dylan blinked. So, what did Eisen actually do to you? Blue's eyes darkened, filled with the hollow gaze of someone who'd seen things. I went through hell.
Yeah. If those photos got out, his life was basically over.
He'd have no reason left to care about anything. What did you do to them? Agatha's eyes narrowed. Punishment for losing? What kind of punishment?
She immediately imagined the worst.
Eisen was an extremely dangerous criminal who knew what sick things he was capable of. Red's expression also darkened. Blue.
They may have clashed constantly, but Blue was still his childhood friend.
Red cared. Don't worry, Agatha. I didn't harm their bodies.
Eisen adjusted his glasses calmly. And technically, he wasn't lying, Cynthia and the others were physically fine.
Not a single scratch. Agatha's eyes narrowed further, but she still ordered people to check the 39th floor.
Truth be told, she had sent Blue there on purpose, for certain reasons. But she hadn't expected Blue to actually get wrecked like that.
And Cynthia and Gita were champions from other regions. If something serious had happened.
Eisen said no physical harm, but that didn't mean no mental damage.
Agatha caught the wordplay instantly. Another damn rat.
Lance's cold gaze locked onto Eisen. In his eyes, anyone tied to Team Rocket was trash.
Eisen, you've got no way out.
Your underlings have all been captured.
Only you few remain. Agatha's gravelly voice cut in, trying to shake their morale. Futile resistance means nothing.
If you surrender now, there's still a chance at redemption. Her words lingered in the air.
Giovanni gave a faint, bitter smile.
After all this time, he knew deep down how this would end, but hearing it still stirred something. The Team Rocket he built from the ground up was done.
Nicely said. But Agatha, you haven't defeated us yet, Eisen replied, voice magnetic and smooth. Oh?
Agatha's wrinkled face revealed no expression.
Looks like we'll keep fighting.
Sigh, young people these days are so stubborn.
She sighed again.
At her age, she wasn't eager to battle. Her original plan had been to either go out in a blaze of glory or retire quietly.
But now.
She opened another pokeball. A massive purple cobra appeared before her Arbok.
Stubborn? Not really. Eisen's white coat fluttered in the wind as he looked past Agatha and red eyes settling on Lance.
That smile curved at the edges. I'm just saying, the three of you aren't enough.
Cocky. Agatha gave a dry chuckle.
Red remained silent.
Lance grinned slowly. Ha ha ha, interesting. Very interesting.
Lance laughed, but his eyes were devoid of warmth.
They were cold. Deadly. I'd love to see what you've got.
First that one, then this one, both arrogant to the extreme. Team Rocket trash, all of them.
Dragonite, Draco Meteor.
Lance's red hair flared in the wind, his presence sharp and intense.
The massive Dragonite took flight with a roar, charging up pure dragon energy.
An enormous meteor-shaped blast roared downward, Draco Meteor.
All out offensive. Eisen didn't blink. Koraden roared and leapt skyward, wings outstretched, forming a spiraling wheel of blazing energy, all-out offensive. Boom! The two moves clashed mid-air, the impact sending shockwaves in every direction.
A feral dragon's energy howled silently, trying to devour the spinning blaze.
But it couldn't. Instead, the spinning blaze grew even more intense. Under Lance's grim expression, Koraden's roar overwhelmed Dragonite's attack, sending it hurtling backward. Even that giant Dragonite couldn't match it in a straight-up clash. Insane. Red's red eyes flickered beneath his cap. Lance's giant Dragonite was incredibly strong. Yet even it got overpowered by that Koraden in head-to-head combat.
Classic Aizen, Giovanni said with a faint smile. His eyes turned to the red-eyed boy walking calmly toward them.
Without Lance, you're no match for me, kid, Giovanni said lowly.
Mutwo descended from the sky, glowing with psychic energy, massive spoon in hand, watching Red carefully.
Your talents surprised even me. You're not stupid. Rather than waste it fighting me, why not help Lance double-team Aizen?
Giovanni glanced sideways at Agatha. He was certain she was about to try some sneak attack again. Red remained silent, eyes fixed on Team Rocket's leader.
Why experiment on Pokemon genes? Giovanni's gaze flickered slightly, then answered calmly, to create the strongest Pokemon.
With the strongest Pokemon, I could gain power, and through that, the world.
That had always been his dream.
Pokemon are raised, not manufactured.
That's wrong. Red said firmly. Only kids talk about right and wrong. Giovanni chuckled. Naive brat. And if you want to prove me wrong, beat me first. Hands in his pockets, posture slightly hunched, shadows deepening under his black hat, Giovanni looked every bit the villain. This world is cruel, kid. Without power, you're nothing. Then I'll defeat you. Red said, eyes blazing under his cap. Lance glared at Giovanni coldly. He'd heard everything. That rat deserved to die 10,000 times over. He glanced briefly at Red, eyes filled with approval, another worthy junior. Fine. I'll humor you. Giovanni laughed softly. He'd been watching Red and Blue closely.
Despite their opposition, he genuinely respected Red. That raw talent, that unshakable spirit, that love for battle, things Giovanni no longer had. Come. I'll give you a proper challenge. He recalled Mutwo, and let Mega Beedrill float forward. This was my first partner. Let's see if you're worthy of your ideals. Red said nothing, but his eyes burned with battle lust. Meanwhile, Dragon Claw. Aizen turned to Agatha. Her Arbok lunged at Koraden, fangs bared. Koraden raised a glowing clawed dragon claw and slashed downward. Bang! The two collided in a burst of energy. Death makeup? Aizen raised a brow. Arbok had briefly resisted the blow, likely powered up by death makeup. But it's not enough. Koraden roared, tossing Arbok back. Its powerful tail lit up blue and slammed into the ground. Dragon move, breaking swipe. The impact shook the floor. A shadow flickered, Jengar screamed and retreated in pain. Agatha, no more cheap tricks. Koraden's senses are very sharp. Aizen smiled. Is that so? Agatha narrowed her eyes. No wonder Dylan took this guy seriously. He hadn't even used Rayquaza yet and he was still this powerful. Terrifying. Dragon Pulse. Lance's voice rang out, sharp and cold. His two Dragonair twisted in the air and fired a beam of dragon energy. Koraden raised its head, eyes glowing, and slashed the beam apart with its claws. Extreme speed. An orange blur streaked in Lance's Dragonite, using extreme speed. Bang! It slammed into Koraden's chest. Koraden flinched, then let out a furious roar and slashed back. Dragonite retreated, but Koraden changed tactics, launching a flurry of glowing blue scales. Scale shot. Dragonite. Lance's eyes sharpened. Dragonite accelerated again, trying to escape, but a few scales still struck, exploding on impact. Dragonite winced, then shot skyward again, escaping the attack range.
This guy. Lance's face darkened, and his gaze grew colder. This enemy was strong.
I told you, you're no match for me. Aizen smiled coolly, graceful and confident. But to Lance and Agatha, it was just unbearable arrogance.
So proud of yourself, aren't you, Aizen? Aizen turned.
A celestial dragon's cry echoed. A majestic white dragon landed heavily, bearing Dylan and Lily on its back.
Cynthia, Gita, and Blue also arrived. Seeing Dylan, Lance and Agatha's expressions eased.
Finally Dylan was here.
It's been a while, Dylan. Aizen smiled at Dylan.
Of course.
No way he wouldn't show up eventually, it had been too long. Dylan. That's him. Blue grit his teeth, eyes locked on Aizen. He whispered to Dylan. As long as you beat that monster, I'll do anything you ask. Dylan gave him a very strange look. Chapter 274, So? Who's gonna challenge me? Meanwhile, in a far corner of the final battlefield. Thank you, everyone. Officer Jenny nodded to the gathered gym leaders. You're too kind, Officer Jenny.
As gym leaders, it is our duty to stand against evil like Team Rocket, said Giovanni with a deep, magnetic voice and a polite smile. Now that Team Rocket's been dealt with, Kanto will finally know peace.
Spoken like a true veteran, Giovanni. What wisdom!
Liza praised him with admiration.
No kidding.
Giovanni just captured a whole squad of Rocket members. He's the strongest gym leader in Kanto for a reason, chuckled Chuck, clearly impressed. Nearby, Sabrina's closed eyes twitched slightly.
She could barely hold it in.
Of course he was sweeping through grunts like nothing. Petrol was using the boss's secondary team, which was full-on champion level. These poor rocket grunts didn't stand a chance, they were basically bug catchers in comparison.
You flatter me.
The real rising star is Dylan, Kanto's new strongest gym leader. It's wonderful to see the next generation shine, Giovanni said with a humble tone, face full of modesty. Sabrina's face didn't change, but she was internally screaming.
Giovanni was laying it on thick now.
Dylan's rise has been meteoric, no doubt, but Giovanni, you've been the backbone of Kanto for years. Without your intervention, Zinnia may never have been pushed back, Officer Jenny added with a smile.
Sabrina's eyelid twitched again.
It was true Zinnia had been going toe-to-toe with Steven and Wallace in a heated, evenly matched battle, until Giovanni jumped in.
With his sudden third-party intervention, Zinnia was finally forced to retreat.
Even as she fled, she couldn't figure out why a 5th champion-level trainer had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. She was sure the league had only called in 4 external champions. Sabrina had kept her cold mask the whole time.
Liza and the others, meanwhile, were practically cheering Giovanni Senpai is amazing.
Good thing she was already known for being emotionless, so no one questioned her expression.
As for Giovanni, he seemed to be thoroughly enjoying the praise. Turns out, pretending to fight Team Rocket was surprisingly fun.
Yes, Petrol was fully committed to the boss's orders, play the part flawlessly and steal all the credit. Now that he'd helped Steven and Wallace defeat a champion-level foe, the glory was definitely big enough.
Boss Giovanni would be proud. Apollo, Lance, Koga? Just losers doing prison time. He, Petrol, was the boss's most loyal, most capable executive. Miss Mio, what's the situation at the main battlefield? Liza asked, concerned.
Team Rocket had mostly been routed, but the central battle where the top brass wasn't over yet.
Don't worry. Champion Steven and Mr. Wallace have already arrived.
Lorelei has also driven off Karen, and gym leader Dylan has reached the main battlefield.
Aizen and Giovanni won't be able to do much longer, said Officer Jenny. She didn't mention the one downside, Zinnia and Karen had escaped capture. That part was not great. Back on the main battlefield. All right. You two retreat. Aizen received confirmation that Zinnia and Karen had withdrawn. They'd done everything they could, but this was the end. After all, they weren't Dylan or Giovanni. Holding their own against multiple champions? That was a little too much. Giovanni, looks like it's just the two of us now.
Aizen chuckled softly, glancing toward the man across the field. Never thought the Kanto League would come down on Team Rocket this hard.
Giovanni had already ceased his battle with Red. Despite Red's Charizard X being strong, it was still clearly outclassed by Giovanni's Mega Beedrill. Even after a short scuffle, Charizard X was already battered and bruised.
To wipe out Team Rocket, they actually mobilized 11 champions.
Ha, should I be flattered?
He scanned the battlefield, 7 champions already here. Add in Steven, Lorelei, and 2 others still on their way. The Kanto League had brought in 11 champion-level trainers for this operation.
That lineup was absurd. And speaking of which, here came Steven and Wallace on an Aerodactyl. They landed quietly and stood beside Dylan, Cynthia, and the others, surrounding Aizen and Giovanni. Scared now, are you, rat?
Lance crossed his arms, his sharp face cold and merciless.
Scared? Come now, Champion Lance, Aizen chuckled.
Aizen, Giovanni, surrender.
With your power, is it worth fighting to the bitter end? Agatha said, voice raspy but calm. Lorelei and Bruno were also on their way.
With Dylan on their side, and 10 other champions already present, Agatha felt victory was assured.
You haven't won yet, Giovanni said quietly. Still clinging to hope?
Guess we'll just have to beat it out of you, Lance snapped coldly.
Agatha turned her eyes to Dylan. Dylan. Granny Agatha? Dylan looked over.
Could I trouble you to handle Giovanni? She asked softly. But Granny, Aizen's the real threat. He still has a Rayquaza, Dylan replied, frowning slightly.
True, between Aizen and Giovanni, Aizen was the more dangerous one.
Especially since he had a Rayquaza.
I know. But compared to Aizen, we cannot let Giovanni escape. Even for you, taking down Aizen will take time, won't it? Agatha had her reasons.
She'd already received word from Officer Jenny that most of Team Rocket's grunts were captured.
But both Zinnia and Karen, 2 key champion-level figures, had gotten away.
The entire reason they deployed so many champions was to stop these 4 high-level threats.
Now 2 were gone. They had to capture at least one of the remaining 2. Especially Giovanni.
He was the source of Kanto's darkness.
But can you all handle Aizen? Dylan asked. Don't worry.
No matter how strong he is, he's still just one man, Agatha replied, confident in their numbers.
All right. I'll take Giovanni down quickly. Dylan nodded. Then I leave it to you. Agatha explained the plan.
Lance and the others all agreed she was right. They couldn't let all 4 escape. Even if Team Rocket's base was destroyed, it would still feel like failure.
You done talking?
Aizen asked lazily, glancing around as Lorelei and Bruno arrived.
Perfect. Everyone was here. Arrogant to the end, Blue muttered. Terrapagos. Reshiram. Dylan stepped forward, summoning Terrapagos and Reshiram. Haida. Terrapagos chirped brightly as gemstone-like light flared around it, its terrestrial form appearing in an instant. So that's the mythical treasure of Zero? Dita's eyes sparkled. The legendary treasure hidden in Area Zero, so the stories were true. Mutwo. Beedrill. Giovanni's tone was serious now. Mutwo and Mega Beedrill stepped in front of him. Just make it look good. Don't hit too hard, Dylan reminded Terrapagos and Reshiram telepathically. Got it, they replied instantly. Oh? So Dylan's going after Giovanni?
Aizen chuckled, surprised. He'd expected to battle Dylan himself in some epic mirror match.
No, Aizen. We respect you.
It's because you're so strong, Agatha gave a raspy chuckle. But even you can't stand against 10 champions.
That was the logic. Dylan could handle Giovanni. And the rest of them? They could handle Aizen. Oh? Aizen glanced around at the 10 champions gathered.
Red, Blue, Cynthia, Steven, they were all top-tier trainers.
Though Red and Blue weren't quite at their peak yet. Cynthia and Steven's ace Pokemon were also still recovering. Their strength wasn't at 100%. Lance, however, Lance was a powerhouse. His team could even go toe-to-toe with a lower-tier legendary. Still. That's all?
Aizen laughed softly.
What did you say?
Lorelei narrowed her eyes.
Was he mocking them? Shall I be clearer?
Then listen up, Aizen said, his expression shifting. The polite mask vanished.
You're all strong, no doubt, but...
He slowly took off his black-rimmed glasses and tossed them aside. Then he slicked back his brown hair, revealing a sharp, confident expression.
Cynthia, Steven, and Wallace all blinked in confusion. Rayquaza. Aizen opened a pokeball. Roar! A thunderous dragon's cry echoed across the city.
A dark, shimmering serpent descended from the skies, Black Rayquaza, looming over the field.
That's Rayquaza, everyone stiffened. Blue's face spasmed. This guy actually had a Rayquaza? Wait. Wasn't Aizen's Rayquaza green before? Steven said, startled. Wallace, too, stared in confusion. The one Aizen caught had been the weakest of the Rayquaza trio, right? So why was it suddenly shiny now? But the pressure this one gave off wasn't quite as overwhelming as the terrifying shiny Mega Rayquaza from before. Wallace was baffled. Did it change colors? Had he ever heard of that? Was it dyed? Cynthia and Steven didn't have any answers either. Rayquaza. Mega Evolve, Aizen said softly. Roar! Rayquaza tilted its head back and let out a deafening roar. Light flared around its body. Mega Evolution Rayquaza. After acquiring Rayquaza, Dylan had sent it into his growth simulation and taught it Dragon Ascent, allowing Mega Evolution. Brilliant light engulfed the dragon.
When it faded, Mega Rayquaza hovered in the sky, its body radiant with divine power. Even Corraden behind Dylan looked up in awe, eyes sparkling. So this was fourth bro. Incredible pressure. It really is Mega Rayquaza. Wallace was stunned. How the hell were they supposed to win now? The battlefield fell silent. You know, everyone, Aizen brushed dust from his coat and looked calmly at the gathered champions. Whether it's one speck of dust or two doesn't really make a difference, does it? Lance and the others scowled. What did that mean? Was he calling them dust? Wallace's expression was weird. This was the second time Dylan had used that line on him. Last time, he'd gotten mad. This time, not so much. Aizen. Blue roared. He still had his pride. He wasn't going to stand being mocked like this. Shu, listen. Aizen made a silencing gesture and smiled faintly at them. I'm actually a very tolerant guy. So how about it? As challengers, I'll allow you to try. You may challenge me, and my Mega Rayquaza. Anyone? Roar! Mega Rayquaza roared, its battle cry echoing across the city. Dragon Grandpa's ready to solo 10 today. Chapter 275, How are we supposed to fight? The black Mega Rayquaza stood tall beneath the sky, its overwhelming pressure spreading without restraint. Beneath it, the man in white stood straight-backed, coat flaring softly in the wind, his calm and proud figure dazzling beyond compare. Even if 10,000 foes stood before him, I alone remain undefeated. Woo big bro is just too cool. Behind the crowd of 10, Lily trembled with excitement, her small frame shaking, so cool, so cool, so cool. That guy. Blue's brows knit tightly. Incredible. Even Gita couldn't help but whisper in awe. How could someone so dazzling be a member of an evil organization? Mega Rayquaza, can we even fight that? Lorelei's icy expression turned serious. This Mega Rayquaza's presence was utterly overpowering. Even she, who had once faced down Zekrom, felt dread. Compared to that legendary dragon, this was far more terrifying. Legendary again.
Lance's cold expression twisted. Another one, another damn legend. First the rocket boss with Mutwo, now this Aizen guy with Rayquaza? Dragonite. Draco Meteor. His voice ice cold, Lance gave the order. Mega or not, he wouldn't back down.
Dragonite roared, gathering pure dragon energy and diving from the sky in the form of a raging draconic meteor.
Dragon Ascent. Aizen smiled faintly.
Mega Rayquaza's elegant form coiled and shimmered, glowing trails of light wrapping around its body as it charged up green, swirling energy.
A second later, a blazing green streak tore through the sky. Dragon Ascent, Rayquaza's signature move. It all happened so fast. The next moment, Mega Rayquaza had already appeared behind Dragonite. Dragonite froze midair, its energy dissipating. Boom!
With a roar of pain, the massive Dragonite fell from the sky, its body limp.
Red and the others' expressions shifted. This can't be happening. Lance's face was twisted in disbelief. Even against Mutwo and Koraidon, Dragonite had held its own. But now, defeated in a single hit? How is that possible? Hard to believe? Too naive, Aizen said calmly, voice deep and rich. Maybe your perception of power is just different from mine. He looked up slowly. Rayquaza. Roar! Rayquaza gathered blue draconic energy in its jaws, Dragon Pulse, and fired it down at the fallen Dragonite. Not good. Agatha and the others sprang into action. Dragon Pulse. Hydro Cannon. Thunderbolt.
They all tried to intercept the beam, but none of their attacks could stop it.
Boom! Rayquaza's Dragon Pulse slammed into the downed Dragonite, unleashing a shockwave that shook the ground. If not for their Pokémon shielding them, the trainers themselves might have been blown away.
When the dust cleared, Dragonite lay in a smoking crater, completely unconscious.
Lance retrieved it silently, brow furrowed. Mega Rayquaza defeated Count X1. Mega Rayquaza's too strong.
We have to go all in it together, or we've got no chance, Steven said grimly. Not that he truly believed they could win, but this was a battle for justice.
He couldn't say anything to kill morale. He's right. Everyone, attack together. Agatha nodded, glancing toward Dylan and Giovanni. Reshiram and Hydrapple were holding off Mutwo and Beedrill well enough. At least Dylan was dependable.
Once he finished off the rocket boss, he could help them.
Dragonair, Dragon Pulse. Lapras, Blizzard. Milotic, Ice Beam. Lance, Lorelei, Red, and Cynthia launched the first coordinated strike. 2 Dragon Pulses, 2 Blizzards, and an Ice Beam from Cynthia's Milotic, an impressive barrage. Weak. Aizen said flatly. Dragon Ascent. Rayquaza danced through the air, its glowing form twisting as green energy surged again. A single brilliant green beam pierced through all the attacks, unstoppable. Dragonair. Lance's eyes flashed. Bam! Dragon Ascent cut through both Dragonair, sending them spiraling to the ground.
Already wounded from earlier clashes, they couldn't endure a clean hit from such a powerful move. Mega Rayquaza defeated Count X3. Mega Rayquaza is on a rampage. Roar! Not even stopping, Rayquaza gathered another blast of blue energy, Dragon Pulse, and dove at Lorelei and Red's Lapras. Boom! The Laprases fired off ice beams, but the Draconic Blast tore through both, slamming into Lorelei's Lapras and knocking it out. Lorelei's face paled. Mega Rayquaza defeated Count X4. Mega Rayquaza is going berserk. Agron, Stone Edge. Rhyperior, Stone Edge. Machamp, Stone Edge. Steven, Blue, and Bruno all struck with rock-type attacks. Blades of stone shot skyward. Breaking Swipe. Roar! Rayquaza's tail glowed with dragon energy, sweeping through the stones. Boom! The shockwave shattered everything. Before the dust even settled, Rayquaza dived again, charging another Dragon Ascent. Protect! Cynthia's eyes sharpened. Milotic erected a green protect barrier just in time. Crash! Dragon Ascent slammed into the shield,
breaking it almost instantly and sending Milotic flying.
It struggled to rise, but couldn't.
Cynthia bit her lip. Mega Rayquaza defeated Count X5. Mega Rayquaza is dominating the battlefield. Still glowing green, Rayquaza turned sharply, streaking toward Red's Lapras. It remembered. One by one. Lapras. Ice Beam.
Red's voice was calm.
He knew Protect wouldn't work. Dodging? Impossible. Rayquaza was too fast. Lapras tried to charge its Ice Beam. Too late. Slash. Rayquaza cut through Lapras and soared skyward. Boom! Lapras exploded with energy, knocked out instantly. Red said nothing. Mega Rayquaza defeated Count X6. Mega Rayquaza is unstoppable.
This thing's flying around like it owns the place.
Blue couldn't take it anymore.
6 of their strongest Pokémon down in just moments.
Rayquaza hadn't even been scratched.
It was carving through their teams like fodder.
This is impossible. Lorelei's voice was grim. They couldn't win. Steven. At this point, Steven was seriously questioning, how had the Johto Association ever trapped Rayquaza and killed Zinnia? What the hell did they use? What do we do? Go for Aizen directly? Geeta asked, frustrated. But Koraidon's guarding him, and that's risky.
They were seeing the true scale of the world.
Even if they ignored Rayquaza, it wouldn't ignore them. And trying to attack Aizen? Not only was Rayquaza circling above, Koraidon was right there like a bouncer. Koraidon was terrifying too. If they made a move on Aizen himself, who's to say Mega Rayquaza wouldn't go feral and attack them directly?
They had 0 ways to stop it. I already tried with Gengar, Agatha muttered. She'd sent 2 of her Gengar to sneak up and grab Aizen.
But Koraidon's senses were insane.
It almost KO'd her Gengar with a single tail swipe.
Meanwhile, roar! Rayquaza howled again. Massive ice shards formed above Steven, Blue, and Bruno's Pokémon Avalanche. Protect! The coverage was too wide, they couldn't dodge.
Green shields flickered to life as ice rained down, hammering the barriers.
They cracked, but barely held. Then, swoosh! A beam of icy light swept across them. Ice Beam. Crunch! The sickening sound of ice freezing flesh echoed out.
When the light faded, a long frozen spike stretched across the battlefield. Aggron, Rhyperior, and Machamp frozen solid.
The crystal cracked, and Rhyperior collapsed immediately. Aggron and Machamp clung to consciousness. Mega Rayquaza defeated Count X7. Mega Rayquaza is approaching godhood.
A green beam streaked through the air. Dragon Ascent again. Steven reacted fast, returning Aggron just in time.
But Bruno was a hair too slow. Boom! Dragon Ascent cut through Machamp, dropping it instantly. Mega Rayquaza defeated Count X8. Mega Rayquaza has surpassed gods. Roar! Rayquaza soared skyward, letting out a mighty cry. Who's next? It looked down arrogantly at the battlefield below, strewn with fallen Pokémon. Just dust beneath its claws. Lance's face was grim. Cynthia and the others were silent. Should we just let Dylan handle this? Blue muttered. We can't win.
He rubbed his head. That old hag Agatha must be senile if she thought they could handle this thing.
Agatha's murky eyes flickered with uncertainty. What's the matter? Not continuing? Aizen's coat was still spotless. He glanced at them one by one and gave a faint smile. Seems you're too tired to dance anymore.
That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released 1 day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.